This new military-inspired watch is based around the Dirty Dozen watches from World War II. However, this new field watch is competing with the likes of Hamilton to be one of the best value field watches. So, let's take a closer look. There is a lot of tough competition when it comes to good quality, affordable field watches. So when Vario asked if I wanted to review their new 1945 field watch, there was only one answer. I'm a huge fan of this Singaporean microbrand. Their catalogue is filled with vintage-inspired watches that for some reason just hit me right in the gut. This new ticker from them is clearly inspired by the classic Dirty Dozen watches from World War II. They've effectively taken the look of these legendary watches, added a bit of Vario spice and completely modernised them. I've noticed three big things that Vario have done to take this from a Dirty Dozen homage into a contemporary vintage-inspired field watch. The dial surface has a beautiful sand-like textured finish, which I'm pretty sure they didn't mess about doing back during the war. The sub-seconds at the 6 o'clock is recessed and features some concentric circular work around that sub-seconds. But the standout feature for me is the Vario logo. Even though the original Dirty Dozen watches featured a white print for the manufacturer of the watch, Vario has gone stealth mode and embossed their logo onto the dial. At a glance, this just looks like a sterile dial. It's only when you look closer that you really see the details. Most field watches opt for a sandblasted finish that gives the watch that tooly look whilst also giving an extra level of protection against scratches. Interestingly, Vario has decided to go with a mixture of finishes instead, with this field watch actually featuring some polished surfaces on the lugs and bezel. This certainly gives the watch a more contemporary aesthetic over other modern field watches, and, well, I like it. The crown is also another huge point of interest. With most field watches using a 3 o'clock crown, Vario switched it up and put it down towards the 4 o'clock. This singular feature massively separates this watch from a lot of the other field watch options. Vario has even signed the crown with lume for good measure. Now, in order for this watch to compete with the other great field watches, it has to have a good spec sheet, so let's check it out. This watch comes with a full 316L stainless steel construction, including a screw-down crown and screw-down caseback, meaning that we do see a pleasant 100 meters of water resistance, which is pretty funny because the Hamilton Khaki Mechanical only has 50 meters. The dial features a mixture of C3 and BGW9 lume, which I'll show you very soon. There is a flat sapphire crystal with AR coating on the underside, and we do see the use of an automatic movement. Speaking of, inside the 1945 D12, we see the use of the Miyota 82S5. However, Vario have decided to use the gilt variant, which is indeed gold in colour. And for an entry-level movement, it is rather pretty. This movement beats at 21,600 vibrations per hour and has a power reserve of 40 hours. This movement does hack and does hand wind. There are limitations with these Miyota 8000 series movements though, the biggest being that they can be a little noisy when on the wrist. Although you can definitely hear the movement spinning occasionally inside of this watch, it's certainly not as bad as I've heard on other watches. As mentioned earlier, we have a combination of BGW9 and C3 lume used on this watch. The combination of these two allows for a very pleasant lume experience with two different colours. The C3 on the hands is bright and lasts the longest on the dial. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Vario makes some of the best straps in the business for the money. The supplied strap on the 1945 fits the aesthetic of the watch perfectly. This strap is made from Cordura. It's similar to canvas, however Cordura is a man-made material that typically lasts longer than canvas. The quality of this strap is extremely high. It features metal rings, quick release spring bars, and a good quality buckle and tang. The strap is quite stiff out of the box, so it will need breaking in, but this usually indicates that the strap will last longer. But be sure to check out Vario's leather straps. These are much softer out of the box, and they are extremely comfortable from the first second of wear. For all of my fellow small-wristed enthusiasts, Christmas has come early. This piece features the perfect dimensions for anyone who prefers a smaller watch. We have a 37mm case diameter, a 45mm lug-to-lug, and a 10.5mm thickness. This watch melts into a smaller wrist, but the 45mm lug-to-lug means that it should easily work on average sized wrists too. I've tried my fair share of field watches now, and the fit on this Vario is up there with the very best. Before we get into price, let me tell you a few cons to consider. Firstly, I think this watch would have looked better with a 20mm lug width. The 18mm looks a bit skinny in my opinion. opinion. I don't think that anyone is a massive fan of the Miyota 8000, and I'm certainly also in this boat. The movement isn't bad by any means, it's just not great. Although the polishing to the case is super cool, using this watch as a field watch is intended to be will lead to some scratches and some scars, especially on that polished bezel. The Vario 1945 D12 comes in at $368. However, if you use the code TTT8, it will get you 8% off of your order, bringing the total down to $338. This isn't an affiliate code, by the way. Aside from being able to keep the watch, I receive no compensation for this review. Vario has just provided you with an exclusive code to use because you watch my channel. I think that at just over $300, this is a very good field watch option. The details are fantastic, the fit is superb, and Vario in general just makes some super cool watches. You'll find a link to buy the D12 down in the description, where there are also 3 other dial colours available for this model, so check them out. If the field watch isn't your style though, and you prefer something a bit more dressy, then go and watch my review that I did earlier this year on the Vario Versa. I'll see you over there.